the intro to start. Hi, I'm David with EV World News, where we talk about electric vehicles, green energy, and the stock markets. And I'm in here today with our resident engineer, Mike Herzog. How's it going today, Mike?
Doing great, David. Doing great. Always happy to talk about EV stuff. It's always a good topic.
Well, at least my half of the broadcast is made with clean energy. So I was going to say we're like 30% coal. But I forgot I have solar, so I don't.
Solar on your house, right? I haven't been outside in a minute.
It's nice and sunny today. Yeah. So the solar is working. I'm selling power to the grid right now.
There you go.
Anyways, let's start out talking about the global energy storage boom. Grid scale battery deployment is hitting big records. In 2025, there's a total of 247 gigawatt hours of energy storage being installed in 2025.
Whoa.
That means the guy I introduced you to has done at least 4% of that.
That's insane.
That gives you an idea of just how big that market is, considering how big the parent company is, right?
It's the answer. I mean, maybe I don't want to go that far. It's the current answer to what we're talking about, renewables and just grid balancing service and what it looks like. I mean, it's always been, you have to pair it with storage. You have to understand what that is so you can actually use market function and spread that out over time. I mean, it's the tricky part about the grid is timing is just as important as magnitude. And that's always been the issue with renewables. I mean, it's just a fact of it. The sun doesn't always shine, the wind doesn't always blow. And you plan these systems out that far, and really you're planning them for an hour of the year. It's like, this has to be humming this hour of the year when it's the hottest day, all the AC is running, half the people are at home, half the people are still at work, all the facilities are running. So as if you can't line it up with that, it's just not as beneficial to the grid. So store it from the night before when the wind's blowing across the plains of West Texas. Store it, and then use it the next day when it's 1,000,000 degrees in Dallas.
I'm wondering how some of this plays out, though, even like in the wintertime, because in the wintertime, when the days are shorter, you don't have as many hours of solar, and the solar isn't as effective, right? Even when the sun is shining, right? And so it's harder to batteries.
Our part of the world and the power markets where they're at, I believe solar when they model it, gets 0% accreditation in the winter. They don't count on it at all. Yeah, which is a big deal, because it used to be like we always aimed our sights on summer. That's when it was hot. That's when there were ACs, especially where we're at in the country. There's a lot of natural gas for heating that comes up. But with data centers that run 24/7, 365 days a year, and a lot more of electrification, people going to electric heat, like we actually have to care about the winter. So our guns have been aimed at summer for such a long time that winter's kind of sneaking around the back. And solar by itself with no storage, I'm pretty sure gets 0% accreditation in that market.
Damn. Yeah. So global energy storage has had a 23% year-over-year increase in deployment from the prior year. China and US are the two largest markets, probably all the way through for the next 10 years. They're expected to be the two biggest markets. And the battery attachment rate for new solar installations was 70% in the last quarter, which was up 10% from the year before. So it was 60% in 2024. But still, that means a lot of grid scale solar projects are being tied to battery.
Yep, I didn't know the number was that big, but I think you have to at this point. If anybody I work with that's putting in a new solar project, like you got to add the batteries. And if they have the space, I put the reverse on them too, and say if you have space, put solar with it too. I mean, you're building all the infrastructure, you're putting the inverters in, doing all of that, going through the interconnection process. Like, you might as well squeeze that lemon as much as you can and get the juice out of it.
Yeah, if you're going to put in batteries, might as well put in solar.
Yeah. I mean, just a little bit, even if it's just a little bit, you might as well. I mean, it's all the infrastructure's there. It's ready to go.
Well, I look at all the cool things out there, even for camping, where you can haul a solar panel along and go camping, and you can have it run a bunch of stuff, maybe even charge up your EV,
Yeah.
or whatever when you're out camping. And I thought, there's a lot of innovative stuff that's come out with solar for little application. You look at all the different, even things on the road where you can see that they didn't run power to something. They just put a solar panel.
Just put the little panel on. Yeah. All the highway lit signs. Yeah. For construction and all. Yeah. It's amazing what they're doing with that now.
Yeah. And there's a battery in there somewhere,
Yeah.
and they get just enough to make it work.
Mm-hmm.
Battery storage system costs have dropped 20% in the past year. That in any industry, we're always talking about inflation and stuff like that, but you're seeing, the prices of the lithium ion batteries in your cars and lithium, all of that plummeting. It's plummeting in the battery storage too.
Yeah. And it's great to see that as standalone. I always go to the example of the Leaf. The Leaf is less expensive than it was when it first came out 10 years ago. 15 years ago. Just we experienced 100% inflation between then and 35% inflation, and
right, and it's cheaper
costs
now.
less than it did in actual dollars. That's astounding. That just blows my mind.
We were talking yesterday, and as a result of tariffs, the average new car in the United States is now just broke $50,000.
Ooh.
Yeah. And so you think about that. There's a lot of EVs now for sale that are a lot less than 50 grand.
Mm-hmm.
You can get down around 30 grand now, and it's it's starting to be a little cheaper. Let's see. The revenue model evolution. The business case has transitioned from simple arbitrage. So originally it was just like being in California, buying it off the grid when there was excess and selling it back when it was worth more during the day. But there's frequency regulation services, capacity markets, voltage support, renewable energy firming, which that's the main thing we talk about, transmission congestion relief, and black start capability. Now that's an interesting one. When things have conked out, you got that. So are you familiar with the skinny duck?
Yep.
Can you explain how the duck curve?
Yeah, so it's normally what happens is it follows temperature in the sun and human behavior. So like grid loading comes up, it's like a big curve. It comes up, people wake up, the power demand goes high, temperature increases, your AC is running a lot more than it used to run, and it looks like a big curve. It just goes up, it gets to 4 or 5 in the afternoon, it flattens out a little bit, then pops up, and maybe starts to go down a little bit after 10 o'clock as people start to go to bed. So it's like typical like sinusoid curve. It goes up, it goes down, it goes up, it goes down. But what happens in a case like that, when you put a lot of solar on the system, that kicks on during the day. So you end up with this duck shape where load started to go up because people are waking up, it gets hot, solar kicks in, and it drops way down. But then when solar kicks out, it pops up really, really fast at the end of it, because not only is it your generation's kicking out, but it's the highest period of demand, and it really pops up. And I wish I could draw on here. Maybe there's a way to do it, because it's you kind of have to see the picture when it looks like it. But basically, what used to be a curvy like this, it looks like a duck shape now because solar drops down in the middle and picks back up when it kicks out at the end of the day. So what we try to really do in grid planning when we're looking at scenarios like that is making sure that you don't have this kind of like doubling down or rebounding effect when solar kicks out, where it's like things were great. We feel great about the grid, and that like rooftop solar went out on all these homes and houses, and it just skyrockets. Like a really, really sharp pickup in demand on the system.
Yeah, if you had just a drawing app on your computer and you shared screen, you could do that. I mean, just in your.
Let me see if maybe I can just find a Google one. Duck curve. There we go. Let me see if I know how to do this. Oh, there you go. Just found it.
Yeah, there you go. Oh yeah, that's nice looking mallard right there, I'll tell you.
It's beautiful around here. But yeah, you can see what it kind of used to look like. Grid demand. Maybe let me share my screen on there. I'll find it. Oh, I don't want to leave studio. Share screen. So yeah, just hopefully you can see that. So just Googling duck curve on that, you can kind of see where on a picture. Oh, there it goes. On a picture like this, normally what you'd see on a curve is it's going to go up and over like that, but instead he drops down in the middle and peaks up on the end of it like that. So
That's funny.
yeah, it's the other one. They call it the dragon curve, I think, which is even, it's the skinny duck, but when it goes way down or even underneath, and then they start to incorporate EV charging and all the different things, so you kind of get like a weird oscillation in the middle there. But yeah, it's just a really it's a phenomenon for sure of solar. So the point of batteries is you can edge some of that out. You can extend it so you don't get this sharp pickup at the head of the duck there. You can make that a little bit flatter as it comes through the end on that.
So the batteries help smooth everything out.
The batteries help smooth that transition out, so it's not, so the duck's not quite as tall when everything's said and done. Yeah, that's the duck.
There's a Clean Technica article that's called "Big Batteries Create Skinny Ducks, Reduce Gas."
That's funny.
Yeah, it's what's the thing about all the farting cows? It'd be the farting ducks.
The farting ducks fixing everything.
So my next topic, PJM, which is a big energy provider, serves about 65 million people on the East Coast. 13 states and the District of Columbia is facing unprecedented challenges to probably 2032. Because of all of the AI data centers, cryptocurrency mining, and electrification. So it's saying the data centers require 99.999% uptime.
5 nines? Yeah.
Yeah, you can't. One of the things is when they're running these large language models and they're trying to do all this modeling, you can't have it crash. Yeah, and they have to have an instant response to grid disturbances. And they're increasingly trying to be 24/7 carbon free, at least energy matching. But obviously that's hard to do, right? When you're in that part of the country, you're probably pretty heavy coal, right? Because if you got Pennsylvania and West Virginia in there, they're driving the coal. Even though we use coal out here too. Okay, we're 30% coal in Nebraska.
Clean, we've got the anthracite or bituminous, or I don't know which one's which, but supposedly ours is cleaner than East Coast coal.
It's so funny, the term clean coal, right? It's like, let's just smooth that out, right? I remember all the discussions about what do we do about all the coal miners, and what was it? Was it Biden that said learn to code or something like that?
Something like that.
It's like, well, we're not getting rid of coal real fast, but we know it's a problem, right? Yeah. And at least in American society, it's a problem, But anyways, it's
I do some consulting in the PJM marketplace, and it's just booming. It's moving so fast, and what they want to add. So they're in the middle of they're kind of redoing their processes, and they're kind of in this transitional phase, and it just keeps getting longer and extended, and it's a real challenge on where they're at. They're now, compared to other markets, power markets across the U.S., PJM's actually, I would say they're a little bit farther along the road, and one of the reasons they're kind of encountering these challenges where everybody else is still operating like it's 2019 before all the data center booms and everything like that. Coal, but nobody wants to live near the station.
No.
You
don't want to live near the LNG stations.
You don't want to live near. Yeah, all those are bad. But the PJM markets, it's a tough place right now of trying to add new load and people bringing stuff on or wanting to bring things on, and they're putting the clamps on a lot of things in that space. Right
Bobby, in all fairness, I hear people bitching about hydro. I hear them bitching about geothermal, and we know what everybody complains about wind. None of us want any of those things in our backyard, right? And it's a challenge. Now, this is one of the cool things about, the SMR nuclear is it lets you locate it right where the energy is needed. But then again, people are going to be looking at, I want 3 Mile Island right behind my house, right? And that's not the kind of nuclear energy I'm selling. Okay, but it's just
That's the, I think the
But that's still
toughest
the
thing with the new
perception.
technology is the perception.
Yeah, the perception.
And getting
Yeah,
past that. And since we've started talking about it, just the education I've received and reading about it, where it's the biggest thing, it's people think, oh, it's a new breakthrough. Like, no, they've been developing it for 25 years, like, and it's ready for prime time. It's
yeah.
just
Just
taking
think,
that long for them to get through all the kinks. Like, this is not somebody flipped a switch and like, look at this miracle we found. It is hard work and research, and it's just SMR4 is Gen 4 is ready. It's ready for prime time.
I've read that there's a movie that came out that I think Oliver Stone put it out, talking about why nuclear energy is so expensive and how the oil and gas market spent all this money to basically lobby against nuclear and make nuclear so expensive with all these new
I
regulations.
can see
Because at
that.
one time, the Sierra Club was pro nuclear, and then all of a sudden they switched, but they started getting funded by oil and gas.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
yeah, and then nuclear became bad. And it's really interesting to look at the changes over the years. But in all fairness, there's been problems with some nuclear that was put out 50, 60 years ago when it was new, right? And but what's happened is these things in the government with the Nuclear Regulatory Commission have prevented all these breakthroughs that occurred in the United States to come to
Mhm.
market. And there's been all these nuclear scientists that have worked on all these great things to fix nuclear, but you can't get somebody to invest money in your idea in the nuclear space if it can't be brought to market for 20, 30 years. And so all of a sudden, because of Google and Microsoft and Facebook, all putting all this pressure on the US government and spending all this money on research in the nuclear space, we now have a big push.
The door's open. I mean, they're
Yeah.
actually accepting it's becoming acceptable, and not even acceptable, like required.
Mhm.
I don't know if there is another solution out there that checks all the boxes that we want to check with this. And this isn't just us plugging nuclear. I mean, if you, everybody take 5 steps back and look at it's renewable, it's running clean, the safety is incredible. You can co-locate it, so you're reducing your losses. It's much more efficient when you do that, and it runs all the time. I mean, it's really, you go down this list and it checks so many boxes of what we need for a future solution. The only one that's missing is, can we deploy it timely? And that's where
Yes.
I'm a big fan of government regulations, and absolutely they have to stay on for safety and, making sure it's being operated correctly, but get out of the way a little bit. Like, let's go do it. We have to do it at this point in time. We need some
Well,
solution.
it's just like solar. Solar's got its issues, but it's cheap to deploy, or
Yeah.
reasonably cheap to deploy. And, at least in a commercial setting, not necessarily in a residential setting, but in a commercial setting. And it's cleaner. But then on the flip side, it's like, it's not, baseload. It's like you're saying, it counts for nothing in the wintertime.
Mhm.
And you got all these other issues with it, but it's, a cheap method of energy.
Yeah. It's one of those, it is what it is and does what it does, and it has its function, it has its purpose. Does it solve every issue? No, absolutely not. But it does what it does, and it has its place, and it's another one. Just kind of let the market dictate how it's going to go at this point. We know how it operates and we know how it runs, so don't interfere with the market function of it. Just let it deploy where we need to see those things out in the world, in the US
No.
specifically.
So let's see. So PGM has some capacity auction structure. Do you know what would be an auction structure for electricity?
So you have to have two things. One, you need the energy itself. So the electrons, and you're going to purchase that. So you're purchasing the commodity of energy. But you also need capacity to go along with it. Like, you need capacity rights from the transmission path. So if your power plant's way over here and your load is way over here, you need a path for those electrons to make their way through. So you have to have secured capacity rights in that market. So the capacity auction is basically, I have this plant, it has so many megawatts of capacity that are available. You also need that capacity to shore up, like, you basically need to be able to prove if I have this much load, I need this much generation. If you're a utility, if you're a data center, whoever's adding to it. So you're purchasing that capacity rights from the facility. So it's not just the electrons that flow and the energy over time. It's like I got 200 megawatts of secure capacity to power my 200 megawatt data center. It's from this plant, and I have a secure path through the network to actually get to it and everything associated with it. So they auction that up for new plants coming onto the market if they don't have a firm buyer yet.
Yeah. So PJM is looking at drastically improving their battery storage systems as well. Otherwise they're looking at facing maybe rolling blackouts,
Yep.
and they've had reliability issues during polar vortex events. It's interesting. Batteries can respond faster in cold weather than gas plants.
Yeah, they're instant start. I mean, it's gas plants, even the really fast ones, still a couple of minutes. But batteries, it's just flip back and forth as quick as you want
to. Let's see. All right, so I've got some topic here about states are now pushing for a nuclear renaissance. So a lot of states are now don't want to wait for the federal government. Now, once again, we have this. We used to have all these discussions about states' rights and all that, right? We're 50 individual states, and there's a lot of things that if you're in a business that requires licensing, for instance, if you're in the alcohol space, you have to be registered with the ATF, but you also have to, every state, you have to get a separate license or approval to sell alcohol in every single state. And it's the same thing with cleaning products.
It's a whole bunch of my engineering license. If I want to activate it, it's at the state level. They approve your licensing. There is no federal license. It's all at the state level.
Oh, yeah, there you go. There you go.
I mean, it's common. It's same tests, same qualifications, everything like that. And it's reciprocity. So I'm licensed in multiple states. If I want to go get licensed in another one, it's are you licensed? Yep. In a different state. Okay. Like you're licensed here, but you still have to go through the process and register and
spend
pay
money,
fees and do all of that.
They're happy to take your $50.
They're happy to get my $50 every time. Annual re-registration. Yeah.
Yeah. A friend of mine just dropped his law license in Nebraska. Said, I'm tired of practicing over there in Douglas County. So he's a Council Bluffs guy.
Across the river.
But and technically he lives in Florida during the winter and practices Iowa law. But I thought it was, kind of funny. He goes, nah, I'm done with Douglas County. I can't stand it over there. I thought that was pretty funny, but it's just, once again, all these things were
just across the river, and it's a whole new animal. Yeah.
Every state needs their revenue generation. But in the terms of nuclear, so state governments are taking the lead on nuclear expansion to meet electricity demand. So Constellation's Maryland proposal is they're looking for 5,800 megawatts or 5.8 gigawatts of energy options for Maryland. They're looking at large-scale nuclear, adding additional capacity at the Calvert Cliffs location is the plan. They're looking at doing 300 megawatt SMRs. And then they're looking at battery storage to pair with the existing generation and natural gas as a backup options if other options face delays. The problem we're getting into is we were talking about this on a separate call. All of the natural gas turbines are sold out through 2029.
Yeah.
People are actually arbitraging. They're placing an order for a $25 million gas turbine. And they're selling it to somebody else for $50 million, and while it's still being built. And this is the nature of that space. I've heard of them going for higher than 65 million.
I believe it. I mean, it's what we see, especially in the large data center space. Mm-hmm. The constraint is time, not money. Mm-hmm. So your Googles, your Amazons, your Facebooks, all the people operating this space, they're willing to pony up the dough 100% because it's time. I mean, time is the limiting element right now, and mm-hmm. they have nothing but funds. So they will pay a whole heck of a lot of money to bring these things online.
It's crazy to think about that sometimes, isn't it? Just how much the premium they're willing to pay for electricity. This is one of the problems out. So Virginia just had their election for their House of Delegates, and it was sort of an energy election. And they were 51 Democrats, 49 Republicans in their House of Delegates, and now it's 60 Democrats, 40 Republicans, and a lot of it was blamed on the fact that Trump has been just crapping on solar and wind, and a lot of people felt that was, anti-Virginia.
Yeah.
I don't know how much solar and wind they use in Virginia, but taking away the solar, the subsidies, did not seem, when they're having this problem in Virginia, that it didn't seem like a good idea.
It didn't sit well. Yeah.
No,
Well,
I think that was one of the big
Virginia is a
topics.
huge data center space. I mean, they are Virginia, Ohio, Texas, really big targets for these big data center developments.
Well, I remember seeing that Virginia was 15% of the world's data centers.
Yeah, I could see it.
And it's just hard to fathom. It's like, no, not the U.S., the whole world. But I mean, you look at how many big tech companies started there, like AOL. And there's a lot of others. You got all these companies that just support the federal government in the tech space.
Huge hub.
It's it's a big deal. And a lot of what there is going on here with the states, they're trying to figure out how they can hit their carbon reduction goals, the grid reliability needs, timelines, and cost optimization. Now, some of this, when you've looked at cost optimization, when you've looked at grid scale nuclear, where you're building with the cooling towers and all that, everything that's been done in the last 30 years has taken an extra decade longer and cost more than double budget.
Add 2 zeros to it and add a decade.
Yeah, and it's been ridiculous how expensive they've been. And the whole idea is with the SMRs, they're going to go in much cheaper. The timeline is going to be short because it's going to be, the construction time at the site will be very limited compared to traditional nuclear. But we'll see how that goes. All right, so I got this SMR technology stats, why SMRs matter for grid engineers.
There you go.
Load following capability. Unlike large reactors, SMRs can ramp output. I don't know exactly how that's expected to work, because in anything that I've been looking at, I'm thinking we're going to try to put out the whole amount that it can constantly, and we may add battery storage to that to capture some of that and then release it during the day, as it's needed. But the big thing is, can it be sited closer to load centers? Well, yeah. This other project I was talking to you about, one of the ideas would be to have gas burners or gas reciprocating engines where the fuel site is at, and then run transmission lines. Originally, I had
moving the fuel.
Initially I was moving the fuel, and then but it turned out you could actually do it cheaper by simply doing it closer to the source of the fuel and just running transmission lines to the job site.
It's pretty efficient. I mean, it's even at a couple 100 miles. I mean, it can be really efficient to do if you have the capacity. That's why there's capacity markets and capacity auctions in those, because you need the space to move it. But if you have it, it's very efficient.
The transmission lines were dramatically cheaper than pipelines. Yeah. And I thought that and ultimately we're not looking to run fuel there all the time, and it's just until the nuclear option is up, and then that generation might be sold locally or something. But anyways, it gives me my news for today is saying the current SMR landscape. I mean, NuScale has obviously been the big player in the space. The first U.S. SMR design certified by the Nuclear Regulatory Commission, but of course they still haven't deployed it. What's interesting is another company has sold some NuScale reactors to the TVA, I think it is.
Okay.
Yeah, so they've got an order for some for the Tennessee Valley Authority. X-Energy is doing this pebble bed reactor design, and that one is backed by Department of Energy funding. TerraPower, I think TerraPower, that's the Bill Gates one. Design, sodium cooled with integrated molten salt storage. The one that's been out already is the GE Hitachi BWRX 3000, a simplified boiling water reactor. Now, that's the one that 4 of those 300 megawatt units have been sold to
right? Yeah.
to Ontario. So they're going to use some up in Ontario. But it was a crazy cost. It was still looking at like $20 billion.
Well, if it's boiled water, you go back to the probably. What do you do with? Well, I mean, the water turns into steam, but it recondenses at some point. What do you do with the water?
Yeah, well, that's still one of the older issues because that's not 4th generation technology. It's
No,
still
no, no,
3rd
no.
gen
Boiling water.
technology.
I mean, that's pretty traditional generation scheme. I mean, you just apply a heat source and boil some water.
So there's a type of reactor I've been looking at called an SCWR reactor, which is a Gen 4 reactor that still has some light, it's still sort of a light water reactor. But the idea is that it has the CANDU technology from Canada to make tritium fuel as part of the output. So besides the energy that's created, you also create tritium fuel for fusion. So you could sell that then to the people who are making fusion reactors. So if that ever happens,
it's horrible delays, but their very first one's in France in what they're looking at. It's a huge international consortium, 30 countries trying to be agnostic, and I mean it's an actual project moving along the way. But it's everybody's. I mean, as much as people want to tout it and say this is wonderful and what a great international collaborates, everybody's. I don't know if this will ever get off the ground. Just because the scope and it's just such a big thing to try to do.
You know, it's like the Lawrence Livermore Labs people. They've done 10 successful fusion transactions in 3 years, and they needed to get it to 10 per second.
Yeah,
you know, and it's like, wow, that's more than 1,000 times.
It's insane, and it's. I mean, I think it's. I'm probably gonna say it wrong, but it needs to get up to like 270 million degrees, something insane.
I think Lawrence Livermore was saying like 70 million degrees.
Maybe that's what it is.
And it's like, or was it 70,000? It was a massive number that is like, couldn't the whole city melt from having one little bit, you know? I mean, it was crazy. Just, just the temperature. When they said what it was, I was like, "What is that? A misprint?"
No, I said I think it was in the millions. I think it was in the millions because it's just like how would we even do that? You know, and it's like, oh well, you shoot it with plasma cannons, and then the plasma, and it's cool. And once you get it started, then it'll make up for the input energy. But
the way it was kind of explained was if you were going to be doing 10 successful fusion transactions per second like is needed, you're basically going to be machine gunning deuterium and tritium into a spot where all this huge laser is being condensed into that spot, 10 times per second, and it's going to be thrown there and hit and work constantly. And just like,
I love our scientific explanation. There's a big laser and we're going to shoot them at each other.
Everybody loves giant lasers.
70 million degrees. Like that's
there's going to be the lasers are going to be the backs of sharks. And,
it sounds like I mean, evil villain stuff right there.
Right, it really does. It really does. But it's like you just need a little deuterium and a little tritium. I mean, a little gram of tritium only costs you right now. It's only 30. You can sometimes get it on sale for 30,000 a gram.
There you go. Stock up.
If it's on the high end, it's 50,000. Yeah, a gram. It's just hard to fathom that it's that expensive. And the 19 CANDU reactors in Canada annually produce 2 kilograms.
Annually. That's why.
Annually, 2 kilograms. Yeah, it's just, it's not a whole lot of it. Yeah, because I was trying to see what would be the economics of, doing that SCWR reactor to make tritium to sell, as part of the thing. And it's like, it still didn't add up. It was like adding like an extra 3 to 5% to the return on the reactor. It wasn't like some massive gain, that I was kind of hoping it would be. It's kind of like when I do the mathematics on hydrogen. It's like, man, that's disappointing.
Yeah. Like, oh, this byproduct's coming. It's
It just doesn't quite work. Microsoft is restarting 3 Mile Island. Um, Google and Amazon are investing in SMR. Oracle's even pursuing nuclear power for data centers as well. Let's see. Let's move
Well,
on.
just across the river from us, Google is firing up a decommissioned nuclear plant. The only one in Iowa is firing back up.
Oh yeah, here my news for today says Commonwealth Fusion and TAE technologies making progress towards 2030's deployment. The CEO of TAE was one of the speakers at that Fusion conference I went to, and it was interesting to hear, his comments on the whole thing. He's like, "We think maybe we can figure it out by 2031, maybe."
Yeah, maybe.
The biggest plus for fusion. So we have fusion. For those of you listening, we have fusion and fission. Current nuclear is called fission, where we're exploding an atom. In
Mhm.
fusion, we're combining an atom, and we're basically combining deuterium and tritium.
Yep.
And anyways, and one of the things is you need fission to create the fuel for fusion. So there's some synergies between the two products, but it's just a lot to see come through in that space because they're still just not really sure if it's ever gonna quite work.
And that's where they're at. And it was in National Geographic last month, where they're the big lab and international effort and what they're doing. And that's where it's the reality of it, of like the size of the equipment and the specs and the precision and everything. And it's just, we don't know. Like it's a test to see if we can actually make it work, but it might be the same, it might just not work when everything's said and done because it's such a complicated process that they're doing.
Let's see. Trying to I designed kind of today's topics a little differently. I'm not sure how in love I am with it. Bill had something on the website today about long-term storage, long duration battery storage and solar replacing coal mines and gas extraction. This was more of an Australia article, but in Queensland, they're set up an 8-hour duration battery.
It's a lot.
So that's a lot of.
We typically see grid scale 2 hour, 4 hour. So 8 hours, quite a bit.
Well, I think they're determined, but Australia is kind of a leader like China in solar usage, right? And let me see. They're on a 12-month trial to see how the 8-hour battery could innovate how we power both industry and communities. I mean, I think no matter what type of energy you do now, I think battery storage is a must, right? It's just now that it's getting so cheap, it doesn't seem to be it's one of those things. I don't know that people are, I haven't heard anybody being opposed to batteries. Although I've had them. Do they last? Will they last as long as my car battery? It's like, oh God.
Yeah.
Don't give me that one again. It's like it's not the same technology.
It's different. They last a long time. I think we're still kind of figuring out in the industry how long they really are going to last now that they've been deployed, because we talk about it all the time, just the hardships of the real world. God, where we live just this week, I mean, it's been in the 20s and it's going to be in the 70s, and that just the temperature variations and snow and ice and wind, and no matter how well you try to protect that stuff, like the Mother Nature's tough.
When I got in Monday morning from Arizona, it was like 22 degrees here.
Yeah.
And we've been running the air conditioner in the car in Arizona. Of course, I was at a tennis tournament, and it was outside. But this is really good. This is a very Australian name, the Tuckaroo Battery Project.
The Tuckaroo.
Yes. Yeah, they had to throw "roo" in there, right? Has council approval, but also requires federal government approval because it involves matters of national environmental significance. Man, they're talking about a 500 megawatt, 2 gigawatt hour battery in the sun-soaked Darling Downs south of Chinchilla, another very Australian name. As coal mines in the area finish up, it's a smart move to use the infrastructure. So I don't think it's really what you'd think where they're shutting down coal mines, the coal mines are running out of coal in some cases. So I guess they've got that going on. Um, let's see. But kind of my last topic today is this is coming from the Motley Fool. So their prediction is that EV stocks will be your best investments in 2026. And I haven't ever seen them be bullish on, electric vehicles really before. Now, obviously, Tesla is the big one, and they, still love Tesla. Tesla is around $430 today. It was like 466, recently. It's hard to catch it on a downswing. Yeah. And then let's see, Rivian jumped 25% or more this week. And let's see, it should be on our ticker here today.
I saw it come by. I think it was down a little bit today.
Yeah, it might be down a little bit today.
0.5% or something like that. I don't think it was significant.
I'm going to say I kind of missed something. So I've been telling people that I thought Oklo was going to drop all the way to $85. It only dropped to 105, and that was yesterday on earnings. And today it's up over 6%. Even after that, because it should be back on an upswing, probably to $200. So, I'm just that's my own opinion. Yeah. Anybody wants to use that's fine. Oh no, Rivian's down 6% today, 17, but they were up 25% yesterday. And Lucid had some not especially great news, but they're having trouble. Some of it's supply chain. There's other issues that Lucid's had as challenges, but they're considered to all of a sudden be appearing to be really solid values. Now Rivian is got the R2, and then they're also bringing some other vehicles, R3 along, and the R2
more really affordable options, and
it should start seeing significant sales or deliveries next year.
I think the key to it too, it's going to be after subsidies and tax incentives go away. If sales continue and rebound a little bit, I think that's going to be huge for consumer confidence and really cement that message to the average person out there. Like, yeah, these aren't going away. They're here. This was not a subsidized. It was subsidized for a hot minute, but as it goes past, I think that's our opinion is the train has left the station already. That's going to happen, but I think to the broader population, I think we're going to see that they're going to rebound. It's still a good car. Every year that more and more of those cars are in the market, and you start to have vehicles that are 5, 6, 7, 8 years old, and say, yeah, it still works great. My batteries are fine. It's just going to continue to increase that consumer confidence and kind of double down on increased sales. I think that's what we're going to see.
Well, I look at where some of these stocks were at. It wasn't that long ago where Rivian had dropped to like $8. Lucid had been at like $3.50. And, you look where it's at today, man, they've really made some gains. It's fun to see. It's interesting seeing New Scale be down today for no good reason. Nano, not really doing anything there, but the nuclear stocks are so volatile from day to day. It's showing Oklo up 8% so far today. Now, this ASP Isotopes is one of my favorite ones to watch. Mm-hmm. And the reason is it consistently goes from in the 8s to into the high 11s. And it keeps cycling. It goes back up there, then it drops back down. It goes back up there. And I think somebody could probably ride that one. If somebody's in the option space, they might want to take a look at ASPI. That's one I kind of like. Oklo seems to be pretty consistent as well. But anyways, that's all I had for today, Mike.
That's good stuff. It was good variety.
Yeah. Well, I like to see if I can get some technical stuff so I can make your brain work a little bit.
We talked about ducks. That's good stuff. Ducks and lasers. It's a good day.
Ducks and lasers. Yes. Yeah. I should change that to the title for today. Ducks and lasers.
See how many people click on that one.
Yeah. I might have gotten a lot more people to click on ducks and lasers topic. Anyways, all right, folks, thanks for watching to the end. And there'll be no show this week on Friday. I'll be back with Bill on Tuesday and with Mike next Wednesday. Otherwise, folks, have a great day.